Chicago police are looking for the person who shot a man in his car in Chinatown overnight. The man stopped near 33rd and Wentworth to call for help after being hit in the chest. You can see the bullet hole in the passenger window. There's an Uber sticker on the windshield, but we don't know if the man was a rideshare driver. He is expected to recover.
Also breaking right now, 2 men are shot and killed during a robbery attempt. This happens in Chinatown. The men were standing with a woman in a parking lot at Tan Court and Well Street just after 2 o'clock this morning. Another man came up and said he was going to rob them. That's when the woman said she would hand over her belongings, but the men resisted. That's when the robber fired several shots, hitting and killing both men. Police were able to catch the robber. Charges are pending right now.
Police say they were able to catch up with the 20-year-old suspect shortly after he pulled the trigger. Alvin Thomas. He is no stranger to police or the criminal court system, but today he will face a judge on 2 counts of first-degree murder. Thomas, police say, walked up to a car parked in the 2000 block of South Wells early Sunday morning and demanded cell phones and wallets of the 3 people inside. A woman complied, but 2 men, 37-year-old Wai Yibian and 38-year-old Wei Zhangxi, old friends from the same town in China, were slow to produce their things. Thomas, police say, shot both men in the head and took off running.
We are all shocked. We are all very scared.
Officers on patrol Sunday heard the shots and responded quickly. This is Thomas caught running from the scene on surveillance footage. What it doesn't show, a police source says, is officers tackling Alvin and finding his gun and blood evidence on his shoes.
Today, I'm going to break down the history of an area of Chicago that's rarely mentioned. Chinatown has a rich history, but has a lot of tragedy involved. This area of Chicago is just as dangerous as any other part of the city, and in this video, I'm going to shed light on this area. Chinatown is a neighborhood on the south side of Chicago, along South Wentworth Avenue between Cermak Road and West 26th Street. Over a third of Chicago's Chinese population resides in this ethnic enclave, making it one of the largest concentrations of Chinese Americans in the United States. It formed around 1912, after settlers moved south from the near Loop, where the first enclaves were established in the 19th century. Chinatown is sometimes confused with an area on the city's north side, New Chinatown, which is largely populated by people of Southeast Asian heritage. Looking to escape the anti-Chinese violence that had broken out on the West Coast, the first Chinese people arrived in Chicago after 1869, when the first transcontinental railroad was completed. Aside from ethnic violence, governments on the West Coast had begun to systematically target Chinese people, such as an 1870 San Francisco ordinance that taxed laundrymen who use horseless wagons for their deliveries. This discrimination on the West Coast, in tandem with poor economic conditions at the time, led to intense Chinese migration to other areas of the United States. Further aiding this rapid migration was the fact that many Chinese people lost their jobs after the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad, as they had made up 90% of the workforce for the Central Pacific Railroad. At first, Chinese people in Chicago were largely welcomed by their fellow Chicagoans of all races. As early immigrant Moi Dong Chow would later state, "The Chicagoans found us peculiar people, to be sure, but they liked to mix with us." The willingness of Chinese Chicagoans to accept Christian missions in Chinatown also helped to ease tensions between the two groups. By 1909, there were 2 Christian missions in Old Chinatown, and 8 other missions dedicated to serving ethnic Chinese by 1909. Hey, I'm gonna need y'all to go ahead and drop a comment if you've been enjoying this video so far, if you made it up at least to this point. This is about to start getting good right here. So let's go into modern times.
Enough is enough. That's the message from the Chinatown community after 2 men were killed in a shooting overnight.
The circumstances of this shooting are still under investigation, but our Jermont Terry is always investigating, looking at crime numbers in that area. Jermont?
Joe and Erica, tonight Chicago police are still looking for the people responsible for killing 2 here in Chinatown, leaving many in this community fearful. Now, many people did not want to talk on camera because they were a little too scared, and that's why community activists say this should be a wake-up call for a trend they simply do not like.
There's a person shot in Chinatown, fires rolling.
Just before 10 Tuesday night, several gunshots echoed in Chinatown. When Chicago police arrived to 24th and Normal, they found 2 people bleeding in different locations. One outside of a garage, the other around the corner.
People are very petrified, they're apprehensive, they're scared.
Raul Montez, a community activist, tells me the worry is heightened not only because of this double murder, but because Chinatown appears to be seeing an uptick of crime.
It's not at the red line no more, it's somewhere, it's in a residential block, and people are alarmed. They don't know what the motive is.
Police have not said if this was a targeted crime or random, nor do we know if the 2 victims, ages 32 and 33, knew each other. But one man was shot in the back, the other shot multiple times.
You can see me in the rain. I'm here because I'm raising awareness. Chinatown has been under attack for the past 3-4 years.
When CBS News Chicago examined the numbers, we found shootings are down in the area. There were 174 during the same time in 2023, and there have been 118 so far this year. Yet, when you compare the past 4 years, other crimes spiked significantly. Robberies are up 55%, thefts jumped 71%, and car thefts spiked 122% from 2020 to 2024.
And we're here basically asking for federal funding to help, violence prevention initiatives to stop this from happening.
And tonight, Montez and others are offering a $5,000 reward leading to an arrest and conviction. They believe whoever killed these 2 men likely talked and hoping that this reward will potentially bring justice in this case. CPD is investigating still.
2 men, ages 32 and 33, were found about 10 p.m. Tuesday in the 2400 block of South Normal Avenue. One was pronounced dead at the scene, and the other died at Stroger Hospital, officials said. 2 men who were shot to death Tuesday night in Chinatown have been identified. Faliang Yao, 32, and General Zing, 33, both died of multiple gunshot wounds, autopsies Wednesday determined, according to the Cook County Medical Examiner's Office. Officers responded just before 10 p.m. to the 2400 block of South Normal Avenue, where they found 2 people who have been shot, Chicago police said.
Chicago police investigators have been out late this afternoon. They've been putting door hangers in the area in both Cantonese and Mandarin characters, hoping to get information as they continue to investigate this double homicide. Today, residents around 24th and Normal wonder what led to a double murder last night.
As the Asian communities are going through all this, we're processing, we're telling our friends, our family to be careful.
Just before 10 p.m., Chicago police got called to the scene.
We got a second person shot.
There's 2 people shot. Okay, 10-4.
Some Chinatown residents nearby did not want to comment on camera. One resident tells us she heard a woman calling for help and what was apparently gunfire. She did not want to be identified.
I'm cooking at home. That time I heard one shooting. I only heard one shooting. I'm not sure it's the gun shooting. I thought it's firework.
Chicago police report one person was dead at the scene. Another died at a nearby hospital.
We feel a deep sense of sorrow and sympathy for the families affected. I think that's the most important thing.
I don't live far from here. I could walk here from my own home. It's very jarring. This is becoming way too normal in this city. And while some of the stats are down, that doesn't matter when 2 people were killed next door to you.
Alderman Nicole Lee tells us initial information from police is that the crime was targeted.
They believe that it's targeted and not necessarily something to fear in the neighborhood, but of course the 9th District is going to be paying special attention to this area for the foreseeable future.
I think it's an isolated incident. It's not, the police is looking into it, but I think that everybody should know that Chinatown remains a safe place.
Now, officially, Chicago police do not have an update on this case. They urge anyone with information to come forward, and they want people to know if they do have information, they can come forward anonymously.
One of the victims was found in front of a residence with multiple gunshot wounds throughout his body and was dead at the scene, police said. Police said the shooting may have happened inside the residence. Preliminary evidence and information from police indicates the incident was a targeted, attempted robbery. This isn't the first time that incidents like this have occurred in Chinatown. Let's go back to 2020 to take another look at a similar case. A 20-year-old man was charged and held without bond Tuesday in connection with a double homicide Sunday in Chinatown. Alvin Thomas of South Shore faces 2 felony counts of first-degree murder, Chicago police said. He was arrested about 2:27 a.m. February 9th in the 2100 block of South Archer Avenue, police said. He was identified as the person who shot 2 men at 2:13 a.m. the same day in the 2000 block of South Wells Street. The 2 victims, ages 36 and 38, were standing in the parking lot of an apartment complex with a 44-year-old woman when Thomas allegedly walked up and tried to rob them in the 2000 block of South Wells Street, according to the police in the Cook County Medical Examiner's office. The woman complied, but the men resisted, at which point Thomas allegedly fired multiple shots, police said. Both men were shot in the head and pronounced dead at the scene.
Breaking overnight, charges filed after a double murder in Chinatown. This morning, CBS 2 has learned who police believe this man is seen running away from the crime. Our Eric Cox live outside Layton Criminal Court. Eric, we understand the accused murderer here is just 20 years old.
That's right, Audrina. Police say they caught that young man just minutes after the murders. The deadly exchange being described as an armed robbery turned terrible tragedy. 20-year-old Alvin Thomas of Chicago's South Shore neighborhood is facing 2 counts of first-degree murder. Police say he tried to rob 36-year-old Wan Ji-bing and 38-year-old Wei Zhong-sung in a Chinatown apartment building's parking lot around 2:15 Sunday morning. Detectives believe the men were sitting in a car when they refused Thomas's demands, so the 20-year-old shot them both near Tancourt and Wells, then took off running as seen on surveillance. Officers nearby heard that gunfire and caught up with him quickly, arresting him just 13 minutes after the deadly shooting. The men he's accused of killing are described as hard-working fathers who have called Chinatown home for nearly a decade.
All right, y'all, there y'all have it. That's been the crazy story of Chicago's Chinatown. Hey, get in the comment section, man. If you made it to the end of this video, let me know what y'all think. And you know, we're gonna keep it rolling, man. Drillers and trappers, we out here trapping and drilling 247. And you already know what it is. Don't go nowhere. Watch that next video. Gang!